All right. I'm sure we're live. Shawn Day here. We've got Higher Lead Chill on, I was going to say Tuesday, but it's not Tuesday. We had to move it. We had some scheduling things going on, and thank goodness, because I had like a bug, vertigo, and all kinds of stuff going on through Thanksgiving and through early last week, and I'm feeling much better today. So it worked out really, really well. I've got somebody on that's just I've been dying to have her on for a long time. Kedma Ough, how are you today?
I'm always great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing perfect. I am. Now, I don't know where you are, but we just got our 2-3 feet of snow in the last 2 days. I'm in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Okay. Now, do you get a lot of snow there, or do you get some snow there? You don't get much of any
Rain.
snow.
We are like the Irish version here in America. We get lots of rain, and so yeah, and I love the rain. So less snow, more rain.
People pay a lot of money, maybe not a lot of money, but they pay money for like nature sounds of rain. And it's like, right? And so I love rain too. I love a good thunderstorm. I really love a good thunderstorm,
Yes.
Let's do this. I forgot to do my intro because my VA usually does it and I'm not good at stuff like that. So that's fine. Let's, I love the superhero thing. Where did the superhero, tell me all about that, because I think that's great. I think some people could not pull that off. What do you mean you're a super, you pull it off just right. I mean, it's just right. Where did that all come from?
Gosh, that really speaks to my story. So if we're going to get real quickly, probably as early as age 7, I was in New York, and I unfortunately I like to say, born into a horror film. And usually if you think about horror movies and you have victims there, they usually rarely escape. And that's really how I felt at that age. And but at the same time, I would come home from school and I'd run in and I would turn on the television and I'd watch my favorite show, which was Linda Carter playing out Wonder Woman. And so one day as I was watching it, here I am, 7 years old, brunette, looking through the screen, and I thought, oh my goodness, maybe I am Wonder Woman. Yeah. And maybe the villain who lives with me is supposed to be there, because, if that is the case, then I get to really save myself, because I'm the superhero. And I think it was my way as a child, immature in my mind, to really find a way to escape. And it would take me 10 years to escape. And at the age of 18, there was a bunch of things that happened, which really put me at a point where I was running for my life at a moment in time. And I had to go into hiding for 5 years. And wow. I think 5 years of my life. And I think what I realized was that I was living out a superhero life. And when I think about, when people say, well, what does it mean to be a superhero? I said, well, you only need a few criteria. Number one, you have to have someone who's wanting to kill you. They're like, all right, I'm out. I'm like, okay, well, if that's the first one. The second one is you want to be able to commit to service for the rest of your life, not when it's convenient. And the third is really just cultivating the power you have. So that's why I wear the cape. It's really to remind myself where I came from, and also to be a light for others.
That's beautiful. We do hear the stories a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. I don't know of all kinds of other industries. I'm sure it's the same, but the ones that we're passionate about, and I'm passionate about, the home service space, you hear a lot about really tough stories growing up, or as young adults, and being able to come through the other side. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. And I mean that as, I think everybody could do it. Right. But not everybody finds a way to do it and gets through it. And that's that's a big deal. Thanks for sharing that with me, because that's a real good story, and I love it. What about today, or maybe just a few years back? Tell me, like, what do you do for pet? You got pets, you got hobbies. What do you do
Oh my
outside
God.
of this and serving?
My hobby is building businesses, to be
Okay.
honest. I love it. I love it. I love it. I have a service dog because I have 3 boys, 2 who are autistic. And so I do a lot in the disability world. And I just think everything in life is a blessing. They teach me more than I teach them. I'm a former addict. Recovering 30 years from alcohol, but now I'm a travel addict. And I honestly, Shawn, I do not want to be going to Travel Anonymous. I like to be addicted to travel.
What's that 12-step program like?
It's a great program. So it really looks like a real addiction. It's like, I could be sitting at home and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll go to London tonight. And I'll go to London for 24 hours. People are like, what? I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to sleep, let's sleep on the plane,
That is great.
So that is my thing. I think almost every single month I'm somewhere. And it's my way of just having adventure and just realizing, to your place, Shawn, that, life can bring us to a place where it can break us.
Yep, it can.
It can break us. And so what I like to envision, so if people see me, I want them to imagine that I'm a beautiful mirror, but it's a culmination of a lot of broken pieces.
Yeah.
So, and because of that, I like to just have adventure, live life, just, and just be whimsical with it.
Yeah. There's, I've had experiences, and I don't drink anymore. I used to drink an awful lot. I haven't had a drink in about, I think it's been just over 3 years now. And when you face those demons, and you're trying to, and you've got that person inside, but you're not letting that great spirit come out, right?
Exactly.
Because we're fearful of everything.
Exactly.
You have a big decision to make. You have a big change you need to make,
right.
And you think, wait a minute, how can I live that life with? That doesn't even sound like freedom to me. And it's the biggest freedom to not have to wake up and think, how am I going to get through today without this, or without a drink, or without bad habit things, so that we can cope. And it's an amazing life if you, whether it's food or whatever it is,
right.
To get rid of that slave that you are, have a master that you are a slave to, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, like I say, any of that stuff, right? And it's hard to see the other side of it until you go through it. And it's not, it's simple most of the time, but it's not always easy. Certainly not easy to go through, right?
No.
So that's a great story, and I hear and see a lot of that now. So I caught a video you did.
Wait a minute, that's 2 great stories. Wait a minute, do I get a prize if we hit 3 within this time frame?
We'll get there. I'll be out to Portland. I'll get you something nice. How's that sound?
Okay.
An umbrella.
Okay.
So that reminds me of a video, and I can't remember. It's been a little bit ago. Temporary depression, I think you called it.
Yeah.
And I go through these stages myself where I have no idea why. I can't tell you what it is.
Right.
I can point to 10 things that have been great the last couple of days. I can't pinpoint one kind of crappy, shitty thing that's going on. Yeah. Why do I feel like I don't even want to get out of bed today? And I tell myself, forever I've been saying, dude, you got to track this. Is there a pattern? Is it some sort of thing? And I don't know if it's an every 3 month or 6 month thing, but that seems to be somewhere in there. Am I the only? Is this like something that's just Shawn Day, or is it a thing? And what?
No, you're not that special, Shawn. It's not. You weren't the only one with the gene. I think there's a couple. So first of all, the full disclosure, I've spent 20 years in the disability space, working with thousands of people. What I would tell you is clinically depression can, fall under a disability. But for what we may have, short depressions or seasonal depressions, a lot of times it could be based on just a moment in time, right? You lost the contract you were hoping for, or you were going on a date and someone ghosted you. And it really is, the question I would invite everyone to think about is, what are the expectations you're holding for yourself and for others? And are they coming up against you and creating some of that depression because you're not having those expectations met? And then you have to ask, are they realized? Are they realistic expectations? So if I take my son who's autistic, of course my expectation is that he could be forthcoming in how he communicates, and all the things that any parent who's had a disabled or a person with disability. But the reality is I have to refocus my expectations so I don't get disappointed. The other thing I would tell you we're up against, which is a harder conversation, is we are all dopamine addicts. Every one of us. So imagine if you're a dopamine addict and you go online, you get the ding, 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 the email, the ding, and now it goes away because you're spending 2 days and you're offline and you're without the tech. You're going to go through withdrawal.
Yes.
And you're going to feel that. And my son who's 16 says, Mom, my generation has dopamine issues. Our receptors, we don't know how to process because we have been overloaded as dopamine addicts.
Wow.
And he's right. He's right.
Yeah, I can relate to that. When I had my cleaning business for about 20 years. I had a mortgage company for 10 years before that, and so I was self-employed. Now this has been about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I sold my business in 2015, so whatever, 6 years ago. And I was self-employed for more than half my life at that time.
Right.
Okay? And 50 is kind of a goofy age, you try not to think about this stuff, but 50 is a goofy age. It was for me.
Are you saying I'm goofy?
No. Wouldn't say that. Where's your cape?
Keep going. Listen, when AARP sent me my notice, I wrote to sender. I'm not interested. Yeah, keep going.
Well, when I sold the business, I never saw this coming. I sold it to Blue Sky Services, and I never saw this coming. But I had no idea who I was anymore. I never planned on dealing with it.
Wow.
I never thought it would be a problem.
Wow.
I remember being on my phone, and we used to use Voxer a lot.
Voxer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we're going back, and my wife is like, "What are you doing?" I thought you sold and I'm like, "I don't know." I go, I'm bothering. I said, I'm bothering people, I think is what I'm doing. I don't know, to your point. And then what had happened was, I said, okay, I'm done. I promise I am done with that. And I was, but then the problem was this beautiful wife of mine who had been married to me for 25 years at the time was just doing what she's been doing for 25 years. Of course. Right. I'm going and I'm going, hey, we had like 4 or 5 extra hours a day because I'm not working 80 hours a week. Honey, what do you want to do? What do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? After about 3 days of that, we go fix something, clean something, get out of the kitchen, get out of I'm doing it. And so Kevin, here's what I heard. I don't need you anymore. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
At that time, my daughter was turning 11, who I coached and all that stuff, with little league stuff and all that. She had the door closed and a phone in her hand and didn't need Dad anymore. And I was going, where do I fit into this stuff, man? And it really was a painful time for me to go through. I got through everything. I figured things out. I got some help, but it was definitely, to your point, the ding, ding, ding went away.
That's right.
Is what had happened. And I didn't know how to deal with that, man. It was tough.
It was tough. And, if I was to, rephrase it in the kindest way, I'm going to tell you this, you weren't important anymore.
Yeah.
Your identity, you sold it, with that. And so now you get to redesign who you are. But that is devastating. That's why, this idea of people wanting to retire. And there are statistics that show that if you retire and absolutely do nothing, you have a higher probability of not living as long as someone who's working all the time because of that contribution. So What happened with your wife? That's what everyone's wondering right now.
Well, we've been married 31 years now.
Okay, so you made it.
Yeah, we had a tough couple of years, though. I will
Yeah.
admit that we just did. I didn't. My perception was shot. I was seeing and hearing things that were not reality. I wasn't necessarily going insane, but I was damn well looking at walls, going, "What am I doing? What am I thinking? What am I?" And so we had to have a lot of conversations, real tough conversations. We had to figure out, she's a pretty no nonsense type of person, and she's very, there's no getting through the preview if you want to watch a movie. She's
I'm gonna love her.
And so, I always told her, if we're keeping score on who's more active around the house, I'm losing. I guarantee it, and I'm not interested. I'm not gonna catch you. Okay. There's one night I'm looking at another house. I'm in bed. It's 11 o'clock at night. We got little ones at that time, and I see my wife's feet on a bed, one of the kids' beds, and I see a paint can in one hand. And I'm going, "Hon, what are you doing?" She's touching up the wall. This is her. So yeah.
Wow.
But we had to think about, what are we doing now? Not tomorrow, not what happened yesterday.
Right.
What are we doing right now?
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time working on being in the now and present, and it's been life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. I understand people when they're talking to me. I actually hear what they're saying when they're talking to me. Yeah. And it's an amazing thing to be present, and I've worked super hard at it, and it's been rewarding as hell.
Yeah, I love that. And living in the now matters. I'll tell you something as you're sharing that. So I don't know if it's on purpose or not, or my trauma, but I literally delete what's happening in my mind all the time. And what does that look like? My husband and I will go out for dinner, and we'll walk into a restaurant, and I'll be like, "Wow, this place is beautiful." And he's like, "We were here last week." I'm like, "Well, it's still beautiful as far as I know," because I don't remember. Yeah. So I say to him, "You know what? My brain is better than your brain, because I get to relive it all the time, like 50 first dates. And you're stuck with having to remember everything." Yes. So I think it's really about my commitment to living in the now and just being present, enjoying it, and then deleting things that really don't matter to me anymore, instead of holding and holding and holding and holding. Just releasing is huge. So I love that you did the transformation, because if you had not done it, the lesson would have come back tenfold.
Right. You're right. I understand.
Oh, I know, because I see it all the time. And I tell people, "Do you want to learn the lesson, or would you like to go through it again?"
Right. Or you're going to get hurt again.
You're going to get hurt again.
It's going to keep hitting you in the face.
It's going to keep hitting you in the face. Yeah.
It's a really cool thing to have that awareness, that and this happened to me this fall. I'm out blowing leaves, and I've got the tunes in. Sometimes I'll just not have tunes in, and I usually can have a really enjoyable, peaceful time, and I'm feeling warm, and that spirit thing, and grateful, and all those great things. But for whatever reason, the mind was going to resentment stuff and things that happened, and I couldn't. But the difference was, instead of it driving me, instead of it boiling me, instead of me allowing it to continue, I am now aware of when my thinking and brain goes in that direction. That's okay. It's not reality. That's just my thoughts. It's not reality, dude. Bring it back. And so having that awareness for me is absolutely paramount in my happiness and peace. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a comment on resentment. So when we think about resentment and betrayal, from a frequency level, they are the hardest things to overcome, right? Yeah. So what I like to invite people to think about is, if you were thinking about life as a school and you've already mastered elementary school, the lessons are going to be harder. Stop complaining. You don't want to go through 6th grade every single year doing the same thing. That's lazy work. Yeah. So if you're getting harder lessons, that means you're going up. Congratulations. You got your certificate. You passed this grade. And now you're in the harder grade. And I think people miss that. And then they get angry about that. But we only truly learn through hard moments.
Big time, big time. I said this on a podcast. I can't remember who I had on. I might have had Platt on, Dan. And I literally, the two things that Dan knows, I've got all these little sayings and cliches that helps me remember what I need to be doing. And one of them is, and I used to tell my kids this, it's impossible to build good character unless shitty things happen to you.
Of course.
It's just impossible to. And the thing things go so well when things are going really well for me is the time that I'm going, okay, not that I'm looking for it, but I'm actually hoping sometimes that something really difficult comes around. I don't want somebody dying or hearing somebody got cancer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's life. I get it, but I want something difficult to happen so I can grow.
Exactly.
I get not nervous, but I just don't like that content of everything's fine because I have to force growth where I'd rather have life come to me and force and sort of make this. It's almost like I'm manifesting shitty things that happen to me, but I don't feel them as harsh as they used to be.
Yeah. And maybe it's maybe it's an opportunity for you to reset how you say it. So instead of harsh things, how about you manifest adventure?
Yeah. I like
because
that.
If you manifest adventure could look like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, woo, I'm going up. Things, oh man, right? It could look like bumper cars, right? It's like, whoa, I keep bumping in with someone, right? But I think if you tell your brain adventure, it will bring adventure, which will then bring you some lessons.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Everything has a positive side to it, for sure. Right.
I mean, you could have adventure and like lose all your wallet and money, sitting in a third world country. That's not going to be a lot of fun, but it's an adventure.
Right. So here's something I wrote down: the word expectations. You had mentioned expectations a number of times.
Yes.
Tell me, I'll tell you what I think about expectations. I try not to have many of them. I try to do the right thing at the right time as much as I possibly can. I understand things are going to happen. I know things are out of my control. It's that old saying, just do the right thing and let the chips fall. Are expectations different than goals, and how so? And should you? It sounds like goals is a much better word than expectations. Talk to me a little bit about that. Help me.
They go hand in hand. So a few years ago, I created an acronym called LEAP. And the reason I created it was I was dealing with a lot of people who were going through extensive therapy, and they didn't seem to get better. It's like, okay, how long you been in therapy? 20 years. Okay, well, where is the results here? Right. And so I thought to myself, is there a really easy formula and plan that I could put in front of anybody, whether they're meth addicts, which I've worked with before, or they're multimillionaires, which I've worked with before, that allows them at any given point to take full accountability in their life. So I created LEAP. And LEAP's concept is, what if you were given the opportunity to leap from one movie to another, or from one scene to another? So I want you to know, Shawn, that I believe everything right now is literally our movie. And so if you think about how a movie plays out, there's only 4 ways to really change a movie and 4 ways to change your life. The first L stands for location. So if you and I are in a situation, and let's say I decide to have an argument with you, you can make a decision at that moment to change your location. We could be in a meeting and you could say, hey, you know what? I need to step out for a few minutes. That is actually you changing your location. Yeah. You can decide it also from a environment. Hey, I'm working day to day in an office. I don't like it. I'm going to change it and go remote. Or you can say, I'm going to move from New York to Oregon. But the minute you make that statement, the entire scene changes, right? The second one is the hardest, which is changing the emotions within the scene. Now, this is why it's hard. Let's suppose that you find out, God forbid, a million years, you find out that your wife had an affair. The scene would call for, just like in any movie, the feelings of betrayal, the feelings of anger, the feelings of resentment. But what if you knew that this was a movie playing out and you walked into the scene and you had gratitude, you had forgiveness, you had understanding? Most people cannot master that because they are so involved in the scene, they can't see themselves outside of that.
Yeah.
That leads to the third part, which is your actors. Now, let me tell you what's important about your actors. Your actors are every single person in your life, and there are permanent actors. So permanent is your wife, your children, anybody who's permanent, your parents. Then you have supporting actors. Could be people in your business, it could be people, like your lawyers. And then you have visiting actors. And with actors, you can bring them in, you can remove them, you can elevate them. Like, there's a lot you can do. But the thing to remember is, are you the actor? Are you the director? Or are you the producer of your own movie? You see, I play as a producer. So that means when I go into a scene, if I operate as an actor, I'm too emotionally involved.
Right, right.
But if I play as a director, then that makes me, I'm just directing. But if I play as a producer, then I know I am producing the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one is P for props. And your props are your resources, your training, any education. And so many times I don't care what it is, bring me to any environment. And the first thing I'm going to say is, okay, which one of these do you want to change immediately so you can leap out of it? Yeah. And what it does is it gives you back the power. So what is the difference between expectation and accountability? Expectation is where you see it. Accountability is where you have to be. And the power is, how do you make it merge?
Right, right.
Makes sense?
Absolutely. I love that. So I wrote that down. I love that. The emotion part of it, right?
Very hard to do.
Yeah, that's the intense.
Very hard to do.
When I'm talking with some business owners or people that I serve and help, I try to say that you need to, and you sort of said the same thing, I think, transcend out of that. You need to rise above so you can take an unemotional look
100%.
What you're dealing with, right?
That's right.
And I literally will tell the guys that I'm helping, literally picture yourself above you, and you can look down at yourself.
Correct.
And you'll find that there will be, you will be able to have a much clearer view of to your point, how you would either direct or how you can have control of producing this scene.
That's right.
Love it. I love
That's right. But the reason why it's easier for them to resonate is everyone has seen a movie. Everyone knows what a director is. Everyone knows what a producer is. And what I've just done is I have taken 10 years of therapy and condensed it in minutes for your brain. See, because I work through, people say to me all the time, how did you do that? I said, because I'm working through a different frequency, right? So once I attach the photo, it stays.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that big time. I love that.
Yeah.
Let me get into, now, when you coach, you do business coaching, obviously.
Yep.
When you coach, tell me who your main people are. Do you have people that have to be at a certain revenue level, anything like that? Okay.
No, we typically coach home service businesses, right? Okay. So my primary role, home service, and that's pretty broad, right? So cleaning and painting, and the gamut. And I don't know if you know this. Last year, I thought, I was a little bored. I had, I don't know, an extra 100,000 sitting in my bank account. And I was like, well, should I just invest in more stock? Should I do more real estate? And I go, I'll start a cleaning business. And I went to the coaches I work with, and they're like, are you crazy? That's what they said to me. You have an amazing life. You travel the world. Why would you do that? And you suck at cleaning. I was like, okay, well, I don't know. It just seems like a good idea. But, it's been a year. We just hit a year. We have 6 employees.
What's the name of the company?
It's Superb Maids. So Superb Maids, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Superb Maids started in Vegas. And so it's a licensing thing. And we started in Portland. But our philosophy is a little different. We think about cleaning as an extension of one's mental health. Yeah. So everyone is trained around mental health. We work with a lot of people with disabilities. So, that's my coaching in, coaching out. And outside of that, I do coaching around business financing just because I wrote a book on it. That's but so I mean, that's all I do is level up any size, any range, any issue, franchising, you name it. Yeah. That's my spot.
So a lot of things I see on social media now are, hey, everybody's a coach. Hey, watch out for this person, that person.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple things with that.
Let's go.
One is it's probably true that everybody's a coach. Now I understand why people think that, but I have a question where, in your view, Kedma, does a coach need to have been there, done that? I've done 8 figures, so now that could be a good coach. Because I'll tell you my view on it is, and I don't know if this translates into business or not necessarily, but I can name a lot of coaches in athletics at a professional high school level that were never any good. They were mediocre at best, but yet they're 6 Super Bowls or a state championship team and so on. Does that translate into business?
It absolutely translates there. So if we take Tiger Woods, the person who coaches Tiger Woods does not have to be at 8 or 9 figures to coach Tiger Woods.
Right.
Having said that, saying everyone is a coach is like saying everyone is a speaker. And if you're in the speaker circuit, I'm a TEDx speaker, I'm going to tell you that, yeah, there's speakers, but I'll walk out of most of those speaking engagements, right? So, I think you have to think about, the one thing I will tell you without acting like it's cliche is you have to align with the person that's going to have authenticity. And that requires 2 things: trust and transparency. Yeah. Trust is, and you can't get trust over an email or social media. Trust is required over a long period of pattern repetition, over and over and over again. So if someone goes out and says, I want to work with Coach Kedma, if they don't know me, I say, well, just go onto my LinkedIn. I have about 100 reviews, not to be egotistical, but to say, this is my trail. And then transparency is, can they be real for you? Because right now in the world of AI, you don't know what's real anymore. Sometimes when I do posts, my AI mentor laughs at me because I'll be like, this was not supported by AI. And she goes, that post is so amazing. She goes, I'll read that post because it wasn't supported by AI. Right? So I would say you don't have to be there, but you have to know what you're doing. Because otherwise you're going to create a negative. And I have come across, Shawn, coaches that have created, honestly, financial harm, and it infuriates me. Yep. So make sure whoever you're working with, they should have at least a $1 million liability under their umbrella to protect their coaching decisions, because they can cost you $200,000 for the decision that they suggest when they're working with you. So lots we can talk about. And then the other thing I would tell you is ask them where they've gotten their coach training. So with us, we have a really robust, we do 12 weeks of twice a week intense training. Once they graduate, we do it once a week for an entire year. Because just because you built an 8-figure company doesn't mean you know how to coach someone to do it.
Right.
So
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and the last thing I would tell you is, even for me, I have multiple specialized coaches in my sphere. I don't have any. I have a TikTok coach. I have a LinkedIn coach. I have an AI coach. So if you can get very specialized, you're going to be better off instead of holding one coach accountable for all the knowledge.
Right. That makes sense. We're having some serious, I'm like glowing, I think. I'm turning colors. I'm having Wi-Fi issues with the snowstorm that we have. So bear with me, folks. I love that stuff. I mean, we're such a close-knit community in the home service space that I think that if you've been around social media, if you've gone to a convention or two, you're gonna find out who the best top cream of the crop is, right? And you're certainly on that list. There's no 2 ways about that. I've had people ask me to coach them. I've never coached. I think it would be something I would enjoy, but I don't have the training. I'm not invested in that, right? So I don't want to do that. Now I'll offer some free things that I might be able to help with. But that's exactly what it is. It's free advice. It's not, I'm not a formal coach, and I make that very clear. And I I love going outside of myself to go find people that are smarter than me,
Yeah.
and learn that way.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think a good thing that you had mentioned was speaking, the speaking circuit. So
Yes.
I've done a lot of speaking. I am not a speaker. Okay.
Yes.
I'm just presenting because I'm a recruiting guy that knows how to recruit pretty good.
Yes.
Okay? We've got clients that we've helped immensely. And so I know we're onto something, and I have confidence that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am not a speaker. I haven't gone and hired a coach for that.
Yeah.
So, it's funny. I was actually had a demo the other night in California. One of Michael Gregory's friends, a doctor, and so on.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah.
And I was explaining to them that I do. And as I'm babbling over my words, I'm going, you can tell as I'm babbling what a great presenter I am. And so, but with that, I talk on recruiting. The first 15 minutes or 20 minutes of my presentation is normally about perception and ego.
Yes.
And not recruiting. And the reason I do that is, although I'm not a coach and I don't intend to be a coach, I do talk to a lot of business owners on a daily basis, and I see common patterns, and I hear common gripes and complaints about certain things, and they're always the same damn things.
Yeah.
And so most of the time, I don't want to use that. That's a little strong, but too many times I see the ego getting in the way. And I try to explain, I think sometimes people, maybe guys more, I don't know, but I see that more in guys. I'm just saying that is basically what I see. Okay. Is this, it's not this, it's not this, it's that thing inside of us that every one of us has that protects us, that that creates thoughts that aren't always real and tell us that you better watch out on this, and it's not real, but it's that thing that we're all given that says don't jump off the cliff, because
the intuition.
So I have to go through that a lot because, and I can't wait to hear your answer. I see now my niche is sort of between that. Maybe I used to say $250,000, but the way things are, it's like $500,000 now to maybe that $5 million business. That's sort of my niche and my passion. And I see that ego getting in the way a lot where, and I'll say in my recruiting world, you need to prove to me you're worthy enough to work for us. I see job ads that are, you better look like this, sound like this, and act like this, or else. I see that stuff an awful lot.
Right.
What is it now? You coach a variety. It's not just top tier revenue getters.
Yeah.
You see a difference though, Kevin, between like that $1 million person and say the $5 million lady that's out there making it happen, or not? Is it?
What I will tell you is the more money you make, the more you're going to realize that you have to cultivate one of the most key metrics, especially in the home service, which is your people metrics. And I don't know if you know this, but on top of launching my cleaning company, I started a clothing brand about a year ago called Leaders Love, which, knock on wood, we just got word that we're going to be in Nordstrom's and Foot Locker. But why?
Congratulations.
Thank you. But why? Because if I looked at the Great Resignation, which is, a plethora of people leaving, and I look at quiet quitting, which is people who are staying, but they've already sort of quit. We have lost this idea of what people used to aspire to when they worked for people. And we're people think that the way to motivate people is with, a hammer, and it's not the case. So I think that getting back to culture, and I've never been more certain on this, that so I'm a turnaround consultant, and that's a very specific designation. Typically a turnaround consultant, their sole focus is to go into volatile environments where there's either union issues, people are walking out, there's toxicity, and turn it around within 90 to 120 days. Like, it's a really fast turnaround, and almost always it's a people issue.
Yep.
It's a people issue, and people will leave, and it has nothing to do with money. If you want to study why people leave, there is a report that identifies every year they actually interview 250,000 people in the U.S. who have left companies, and they ask, why did you leave? And money is not in the top.
No, it's not.
It's not in the top. And so typically it's around this environment where they either don't feel supported, represented, or heard. And you could put that under, management or conflict on work-life balance. And then secondary to that, they don't feel there's a career path for them.
Right. Yep.
So it's happening, but as you make more money, you realize I need to change who I am or bring in someone who has skills I don't have because I am creating a negative impact in my company.
Yep. And that can be an ego problem if you can't face that reality.
Always an ego problem.
Yeah.
It's always an ego problem.
Yeah. And I love that. I've been preaching the last few years since after COVID, especially, that if you will solve your people problem, you have solved 90% of your business problem, okay, or obstacles. And I think that so many people just don't want to engage in it. I hate recruiting. We're all revenue. I'll talk about that all day. How many clients I have, I'll talk about that all day. Or how many trucks I have on the road. Yeah. And it's the secret is, spend your money and resources and time doing what you can, whether it's by automations or platforms or coaching or bringing in somebody else or changing yourself to solve that problem. Because we just created, and I've been working on this with my team for like a year and a half, 2 years, like daily, something for our clients. It's a client portal that we call the Growth Hub. And the gist of it is the goal is twofold. We want to help you solve your people problem. That's number one. And then when you do that, then we're going to show you how easy it is to grow on a scale you want to with peace and dealing with calamity in doing that in a peaceful way because you're solving that. So many people don't get that though. And we're just pushing it hard.
So let me tell you a thought, Shawn.
Sure.
One of the things that's really important, and I teach on this, is first of all, people expect people to show up and already have the tools to be whatever they want. And what I say to people is this: if you're going to come from that perspective, you have to believe that 95% of the people who show up have had an amazing family background with no trauma.
Right.
And then they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, because they're bringing their trauma to the business. Who you are in business is who you are in person. Yeah. So when you don't show up in business, the first thing I will say to you is, all right, Shawn, tell me else where you're not showing up. Are you showing up for your wife? Are you showing up for your kids? Are you showing up for yourself? Because all you're doing is reflecting who you are.
That's right.
Right. So first I say, understand that. And sometimes we do have to be the parent. People go, well, why do I have to teach them? Because nobody else taught them.
I love that you said
nobody else taught them.
I say that all the time. And it's funny. I'll be talking to somebody that's, 30 years old, and they're telling me these 30-year-olds don't want to work anymore. And number one, I always bring up my daughter because I'm so proud of her that when she was 16, she was 15, got a job at a pizza place. She's 17 now. She saved over $10,000 in a year and a half working at a pizza place.
Amazing.
Okay?
Amazing.
So don't tell me that people, but to your point,
right.
This is at that 30-ish years old, probably 30-ish years old, somewhere in there is the first generation that had a screen in their face from day one.
Exactly.
It's the first generation where instead of, hey, shut up, look out the window, I don't want to hear you're bored, we're on a road trip. No, here's the DVD player.
That's right.
I don't have to deal with my kid. There you go.
That's right.
Everybody gets a trophy for showing up.
Everybody gets a trophy.
I'm not judging any of that stuff. That's not my point. My point is, what do you expect them to be like when they turn 25, 30 years old? This is what, so in my view, leadership has never been more important.
It's crucial. And so you see that. And I would say, and you know this already, you go back to culture. The first thing I did when I built my company is I dialed the culture.
Yep.
And I dialed the acronym. Our acronym is CLEAN. But the first acronym, C, stands for care. And what I tell my team is, if you cannot show up and care, don't worry about the other four. It doesn't matter. The other four don't matter if you cannot show up. And so I push that. And so I think that maybe businesses have to realize they may have to have a greater influence in people's lives and realize not everyone had a happy family.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And they're bringing the baggage with them.
Yeah. Part of our growth hub is exactly, let's talk about the ego and perception. And I always use the simple visual that I always love to use is the employees on one side, you're on the other side. There's a mat on the floor. You're looking at the number 6, but the employee is screaming, that is a number 9. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, and I always use the example, the great leader, okay, does one thing. A poor leader sits there and screams and yells and says, I've had it. I'm looking at a 6. I don't want to hear it anymore. The leader, that's a great leader, takes the time to walk over, see what they're seeing, hear what they're hearing, experiencing what they're just trying to understand. And lo and behold, and you'll look down and you'll see there's a number 6 there after all. Right? And so that's the easy example that I use. But I talk a lot about that in the Growth Hub. I talk about culture. Core values, right? I talk about leadership. Those are the main 3 things. And there's a lot of other things that go with it, but you know, I always try to look for the one thing with being, and I think care is part of it. Positive, right? That like care means if you care, you're being positive.
I mean, I can fire you, but I'll be careful on it, and I will care. I had to terminate someone about 6 months ago, and they said, "I really care about you, Kedma. Thank you. I know you're firing me, but I want you to know I appreciate it." And I had said it to my colleagues, and they're like, "They thanked you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah," because they knew that why they were being terminated, and wasn't because I didn't love them, but like this was what they needed to go through.
Absolutely.
The other thing I would say, and just to make it so simple for any business owner, I will say to them, and I stand on this, I don't care what title you were given. I will know the level of leader you are by what people say when you're not in the room.
Yes. Yes.
And I will tell you, it stands over and over and over again. When I walk into a business or when I am interviewing people online and I ask a simple question, hey, what's it like working with Shawn? You know, it's just between you and I, you know, nobody else. That's where the truth happens.
Yeah.
That's where the truth happens. And I know it happens for me because when my team goes out sometimes to events, they go, you know, people will ask, hey, what's it like working with Kedma? And they'll be like, she's amazing. Really? Yeah. You know, and I'm not putting that in there. It's because I'm working every day to make sure I show up as a leader and say, what can I do? I'm not taking credit. I'm just saying, what can I do? How can I learn? So
we're being very intentional about that.
Very intentional. Very intentional. Yeah. And listen, they'll tell me, you know, don't ever put me in as a cleaner. My director of operations gave me a 2 out of 10.
Right.
I was like, what? I said, is that good? She's like, no, you get a 2 for showing up. Okay. Yeah. It's not good. Right. So I think just what are people saying behind your back?
Yeah. I love that.
And Dan Plata, don't be talking behind my back. I'm going to find you.
I'm having a light beer right now and fishing pole with Dan Plata.
Beer right now and saying, oh boy.
Now you talk about authentic. That's about as authentic of a person.
Oh my gosh, he's a little too authentic. He's hunting, grabbing his beer, or, you know, he's at a bar. I love Dan.
Yes. All right, so I can't let us go without bringing up a person that's a mutual friend of ours. I want to hear your thoughts on her, Melody Edwards. Okay.
Yeah.
And were you on her? Were you one of the first, or were the first on her new podcast?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I have so much I can say about her in so many different ways and different things, and she's just a cool person, man. Yes. How did you guys were you her coach at one time? Or
I was the coach. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll leave you with my final story, because it's probably one of the most powerful ones. Melanie and I met when I started as, you know, VP of coaching for Conquer, and she really wanted a woman to, you know, as a business coach. And we worked together for years, probably 2.5 years. And somewhere around maybe year 3, you know, I do my posts and they're always really, you know, safe, you know, pets or family. And so I had put a post out, I think it was April Fool's Day. And it was just a picture, and it was a picture of my sister celebrating her life. So my sister passed away April 1st, 2005 from breast cancer, and no name. And I just said, I'm thinking about my sister. Now, again, Melody and I had been coaching on and off for 3 years. Melody sends me a note and says, "Is that Felicia?" And I pause because I live in Oregon and Melody lives all the way in the East Coast in Massachusetts, where my sister was. And I said, "How do you know Felicia?" And she's like, "I used to babysit her kids," which is my niece and nephew. Wow. And it was this moment where I couldn't believe that I was meeting someone who we did not know in the family, who had known my sister. And I immediately, within weeks, got my parents from New York and Melody together for a dinner. Melody lives 5 minutes away from where Felicia has been buried.
Wow.
And it was definitely a gift from God. That is, she is considered part of our family.
I'm sure.
Because of that. And so, of course, I have so much love for her. And I have love for serendipity, like these moments that can't be explained.
Yeah.
So, so that's how I know Melody. And and it's just a very special place for me because, you always want to have someone who knew someone.
Right.
And, so that's the magic.
Wow. The odds of that, I'm sure.
The odds are no name, nothing, two completely different worlds.
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. And she literally went that weekend and she placed like flowers for me, for my sister. And it was just, amazing.
Yeah. That's a bond that you just won't ever.
It's a bond that, I will do anything for Melody.
I will not tease her anymore. I will not I will be on her good side forever because I don't need you flying in your cage and kicking my ass. Right?
Yeah. She's under my protection. She's under my, but it just talks about how, to be out there, to share who you are, to not be so closed.
Right.
So that's how I know her.
I met her at one of the Huge conventions, I think. We met at the Huge, and she basically just came over and gave me like this gift. Here's a box. I wasn't sure I wanted to give it to, but after talking to you, and I'm like, all these little cool things, I'm just like, who is this person, And when you have somebody that is that thoughtful and having that much fun in life, you got to keep in touch with that person. So I actually have tried to schedule time to go to a convention that I wasn't going to go to, knowing that she would be there just because it's. And I tried to, she's taught me a lot. Like, I'll send somebody a video now instead of just typing "Happy Birthday" on Facebook. It's like I'll do a little bit just because it's like a little melody thing that I think is cool. And I do it. It's just,
she's so good.
My life in that regard. She's just cool.
So good. Yeah.
All right, Kedma, I'm gonna let you go. Are you still taking on people? It sounds like you're awfully busy.
You know what? Here's what I've learned in life. Busy people will always have things done.
Yep. Love it. I would be out of business if it wasn't for busy people. I know that.
Yeah. So, and I'm an integrator. I'm a terrible visionary. I'm a 96 integrator, and I think I'm a 76 visionary. So whatever comes my way, I'm going to just integrate it in.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. This was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. It was super nice to meet you. I can't wait. I bumped into you a few times, but we really have never had the opportunity to actually talk one-on-one. I've always been not so good at like a table of 10 and 15 people at conventions. I'll go out to dinner and there's 20 people at a table. I'm not good there. If there's 2 or 3 people, I can talk all night long and get a lot out of it. But I definitely, if I see you somewhere, I'm gonna grab you by the arm and hopefully I can spend some more time with you than just doing this. So thanks for hopping on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Right.
Everybody, I'm out of here. I'll be back Tuesday. I don't know who's on or any of that stuff, but I hope I'll be back Tuesday. Take good care out there. If you need anything at all, we're going to be posting some info on Kedma and how you can reach out to her and a website and all that stuff. Everybody, make it happen. Have fun, and it's going to work out if you just keep chugging along. Take good care, everybody.
Bye.